5290 or 1-800-568-5.
Welcome everybody to Talkback, brought to you in part this morning by Selway Armory on Stockyard Road, with more guns and ammo than anyone in Missoula, Montana's premier firearms dealer. Dig It Excavating. They bring 30 years of excellence to every job. Call 214-4292. And by Ponderosa Dental, just off Reserve on 3rd. You think of a great smile. Think of Ponderosa Dental, proud corporate partner of Grizzly Athletics. All right, welcome everybody. It is Talkback, and this is Tuesday, and that means that last week we had Pat Williams here in the studio talking politics and all sorts of things. Today we have Charlie Brown joining us. How are you, sir?
Good, Peter. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you, man.
Right, so for those folks who, Charlie Brown, where's Linus? I can hear people all over saying.
Snoopy's my wife. Yeah.
Give us a little background of Charlie Brown. I know you've been a fixture in Missoula for many, many years.
Yeah, I'm a Montana boy. I grew up in Helena and knee-deep in politics from a very young age, and I continued that working as an aide to Governor Anderson and then working in administrations.
That was Forrest Anderson.
Yeah,
right.
Forrest Anderson, yes. And then working in the judge administration. Subsequently, I moved over here and became involved in the politics in our community.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you been an activist, would you say, in the Democratic Party?
Well, not so much the Democratic Party, but I've been a liberal activist for many, many, many years, probably, close to 50.
What other parties have you worked for besides the Democratic?
Well, not parties, just I'm more concerned about a person's view. I'm very pragmatic about my views, and I'm more concerned about why you think the way you do. And as I was telling Peter before we started this morning, I listen to people like Hugh Hewitt and Charlie Sykes being my favorite, for a conservative bent to what's going on. And for a liberal bent, probably Lawrence O'Donnell is probably my favorite. So I like to get a good cross-section of the way people are feeling and what's going on in any given race.
Sure.
But I've been working this year very much on a couple of races, none in Montana. That'll make some people sigh.
So you're making someone else outsource jobs to Montana?
Yeah, outsource jobs to Montana. Yeah, I'm outsourcing jobs. Yeah. I'm being outsourced, but no, I don't think it's a matter of Democrat or Republican. This election is a very good illustration of that.
So tell us what you mean by that. What I see the politics of this election season at the national level as a politics of repulsion. Each side trying to show how horrible the other side is, so that you vote for them, not out of a desire for their ideals, but out of fear of the other person's ideals.
I think that's what's happened, and I think that happened at the very beginning of the Republican primaries, because these people didn't like each other from the very start, and it was Rubio and Teddy and all the bunch. I mean, and Trump was a perfect antagonist because he had experience on TV, he knew how to handle these people.
Well, he got like 10 times the media coverage.
Yeah.
Because he would say stuff that normal, sane people don't say.
Yeah, that you don't say. And in some respects, that's good. In others, it's very bad.
I think we can all admit we've been very shocked by Donald Trump's rise. I was reading a poll the other day after the bus locker, quote-unquote, talk came out, right? This soundbite. Which is not suitable for work, really, so we don't have it in the queue right now. But
NSFW.
I've seen it enough anyway.
Yeah. People know what we're talking about, I think, at this point. Something like 17% of Americans, their respect for Donald Trump went up after seeing that video. 17%.
Why?
Oh no! It flabbergasts me.
Well, I don't know about that, but
that was a CNN poll.
Well, the number one pollster in the country by far is Nate Silver. He's been predicting presidential politics for many years, and
Well, like 7 years.
oh no,
He did the first. He got famous for the first Obama win, and the second, mainly the second Obama win, where he called every race.
He called every race, but the first Obama win, he called within 1 point, and the last George W. Bush, he picked Bush, and he said the big thing would be the fight in Florida. He's been around a long time. He's not a newbie.
Okay.
But his attitude was urban women and suburban women, in particular after hearing that, he tanked with them. And that's why today, if you look at his polling, 358 or 35.8.
538.
538, yeah. I think he has Hillary 83 to 18 to win. Something like that.
I wouldn't say his numbers are off necessarily. I mean, I expect Trump to lose, but I've expected him to lose all along. And he seems to override. And he's polling way higher than anyone thought he would at this point, despite Nate Silver's predictions. National polls and collections of polls show him pretty close to neck and neck, rising in the polls, and Hillary not rising as quickly. And it's a shocker to me. I mean, I am one of these people that doesn't really like either of these candidates. I found what Trump said on the bus, or was released, as something to be expected from this kind of character. You see this, but it certainly wasn't a surprise to me.
Well, I don't think it was a surprise to a lot of people to claim that's locker room talk. You know, I played every sport there was. I never heard locker room talk like that.
Well, let me ask you. Let me throw this little wrinkle into the race here.
Sure.
What happened over the weekend was purely predictable. Quote, October surprise.
Yeah.
You know that the minute that Donald Trump, it seemed that he was going to be the nominee, that the Clinton campaign began mining every single word that was ever captured on film or on tape with Donald Trump. And it's stored in a vast or half-vast warehouse.
With the Ark from Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade.
Somewhere, okay? And so there are all these files available, and all they have to do is push a button. Oh, I like this one. Let's bring this one out, because once he starts looking like a more serious candidate, boom, here comes a surprise to knock him off that pedestal and get him back down where people think he should be anyway.
Well, it's typical of politics, but no one has, in my recollection and all the politics I've seen in my life, ever made more bigoted, racist, homophobe, misogynist remarks than this man, ever. I mean, I don't think the top 5 that I know that were, guilty of that have done that much.
We say that in the context of our media age, though, as well, right?
Oh, yeah, and there's no question.
I mean, John F. Kennedy got up to shenanigans in the White House.
Well,
right?
Oh, yeah, I think he
Bill
did.
Clinton got up to shenanigans in the White House, right?
I think most of the presidents have, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So as far as being misogynist, and this is Trump's case, right? He says, hey, look, I said these things. My opponent, what would be the first husband, has done these things or worse. I asked for remorse or forgiveness. Actually, I think this is the first time we've heard Trump ask for forgiveness was for this stupid bus comment. And a lot of people in America are saying, maybe he's not as bad as the Clintons.
We're up against a break, but here's the problem as I see it. We are no longer talking about the presidential race.
We're not.
We are talking about a reality television show.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate reality television show. We have larger-than-life characters who are caricatured, as Hillary as a mean, spiteful, hateful person, and we have Donald Trump caricatured as a misogynistic, racist, homophobic, you name it, all right?
Yeah.
So you have two really nasty, horrible people to vote for, and we have to decide which one we're going to swallow and walk into the voting booth and hold our nose and say yes. So anyway, we'll talk about that. All 4 of our lines are open. Love to know what you guys think. 721-1290.
Charlie Brown is not necessarily a Democrat, he says. So I'm going to ask him when we come back if you would consider voting for any of the other options on the presidential nominee.
Not at all. No,
Jill Stein or Gary Johnson.
No.
Well, we'll hear the case as to why their ideas don't fit his bill.
He just answered that. So we're gonna come right back. By the way,
because I know where Aleppo is, and it's not an acronym.
Aleppo.
We'll be right back.
Aleppo.
Hey, we are back, and this is Talk Back. We're talking politics, and we'd love to have you get involved. It's 721-1290. Our friend Charlie Brown joining us here in the studio. He's been an activist in liberal causes for many years.
Yeah, almost as long as you've been alive.
I'll stop there.
I had a soundbite I wanted to play. So Donald Trump tries to make this case that I never did these things. If you listen to the debate, he says that it never happened. These are accusations from Jill Harth, dating back to the 90s, where she accuses him of attacking her. If you could find the debate, it's Up with Chris Hayes is the segment. It's actually an interview from The Guardian.
I got it. Here we go. This is Jill Harth. Here we go.
But Harth ultimately dropped the suit amid a contract dispute with Trump. In a recent interview with The Guardian, she described what happened on a 1993 visit to Mar-a-Lago.
It started out as a group tour. But at a very soon opportunity, he gave me a private tour. And that's when he pulled me aside in the children's room and made another sexually aggressive advance on me where he tried to make his move. He pushed me up against the wall and had his hands all over me and tried to get up my dress again. And I had to physically say, "What are you doing? Stop it." It was a shocking thing to have him do this.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Like many of Bill Clinton's accusers, she settled out of court or dropped the case before it ever went to trial. And this is the problem, it seems to me. People are going to be defending Donald Trump, saying that, hey, it never went to court, never went to case. This isn't a real problem. At the same time, on the other side, Democrats do the same for Bill Clinton, defending this guy for screwing around, using the public office for his private pleasure. And frankly, I think it's all a bag of immoral people running for office, and we shouldn't stand for it in the United States.
I think one thing you have to understand here, we're talking about Bill Clinton, not Hillary.
Absolutely.
Hillary is a moral person. I've known her in the Senate.
Is she moral in her private stance or her public stance?
Well, to my knowledge, she's always been moral in the things that I've noticed. And I do want to say something else. She reached across the aisle more than anybody I ever saw. And one of the key people that she worked with, she passed the Children's Welfare Act, she passed 911 centers for the United States, and then subsequently a teaching package, an education package with George Bush. All of those she did with Conrad Burns.
No Child Left Behind, which everyone loves.
Yeah. Well, No Child Left Behind.
Right,
which
so she
everyone
fought for No
loves,
Child Left Behind.
My point is,
which got left behind, by the way.
She did. Hillary is a good person. Now, this banter about this, I wish, quite frankly, none of this stuff would have come up. But you know it's going to come up. That's what I'm saying. That's why when I asked the candidate, is there anything I need to know before we start? Because you know this stuff is going to come up.
Well, let's get to the phone. Say good morning to Mark. Mark, you're on with John and Peter and Charlie Brown. Hi.
Good morning. How are you today?
Fantastic. What's on your mind, sir?
Well, I do have to say I'm disgusted with both parties. I would never vote for Hillary Clinton, and as far as Donald Trump, he's not getting my vote either. I'm one of those people that I don't know if I could just stomach. I don't even know if I could even stomach pulling the lever for him. I'll probably vote for, the lower level, the ones that affect me the most. But as I'm listening to all of this about like Hillary being a moral person, and I'm sometimes I'm confused because I wonder what kind of morality she has. Let's just go back to, people are bringing up about Bill Clinton. Okay, fine. Bill Clinton isn't on the ticket. Hillary is. But the fact that she she actually destroyed women's lives, who dared to bring him to account, that doesn't show me a moral person. That shows me a person who will hold on to power at all costs. And for her to say that, she's a person that is for women's rights, that floors me too, because if you think about it, everything she did as Secretary of State, she ruined women's lives in countries that aren't even here.
Hey, Mark, real quick, do you have a question for Charlie that we can answer here?
What? I don't know if it's so much a question. I'm just listening to it and going.
You just have a hard time accepting that she's a moral person.
Well, I know Donald Trump isn't. And to have her say,
I'm with you, Mark.
Is.
I'm with you. I can easily say I know that Donald Trump isn't, and I know that Hillary Clinton isn't.
Okay, well,
and we're up against the reason I'm hurrying you along. We're up against a break, so
I understand.
What I hear in your voice is what I hear in my own voice, which is a deep sense of frustration in that America really bombed with this election. We didn't pick the best person in either party, and now we're left with having to make a poor choice.
Yeah,
it's just my opinion.
It's not even a choice between the bad and the worse. It's the choice between. Okay. Ask Charlie.
You can ask me. I'm on.
He's right here.
Oh, okay. What do you think really was the impetus behind Donald Trump getting the Republican nomination? What was it that the party and society in general did or didn't do that was the impetus for us to get the choice of Donald Trump?
Okay, I'm going to have to answer that when we come back from the break, Mark. Thanks for the call. We're going to get Mike on as well. Stay with us. Charlie's going to be here with us till 10 o'clock this morning, so give us a call.
Wow.
And as things go, we're rapidly running out of time in this segment, but we'll have another hour to talk with Charlie. But real quickly, to answer Mark's question, how did the Republican Party get to the point where they picked this particular individual, Donald Trump, to be the nominee?
Well, you and I talked about this a little bit beforehand, but you have to understand, first of all, that this man has been on TV and had a very successful show with The Apprentice. And he's pretty used to conflict. In fact, he creates it on that show quite a bit, from what I've seen. And so he, as a stage presence, had stage presence already. Not as a politician, but as an outsider. A lot of people in this country, in my opinion, one of the things that Nate Silver did on a polling some time ago that I think was very accurate was he explored the frustration level among Americans about Congress not getting anything done. They felt like they were being left out, And so an outsider in that position at that time was in a very beneficial place. And then you add to that he's already had that type of exposure and experience, which most of those people have had political experience. But, if, for lack of a better way of putting it, Trump was saying, you're part of the problem.
People are sick of politicians.
Yeah.
They're just sick of them.
You're right.
Well, and so right now, this is the Real Clear Politics aggregate poll. Wrong direction. Most people think 63.5% of Americans think America is headed in the wrong direction. And frankly, I think Donald Trump is just a time bomb they purchased to blow everything up. I mean, a lot of the people that I talked to during the debates said they wanted him because he would get rid of a lot of the filth in Washington, maybe by self-destructing himself. I don't know.
Anyway, well, we have another hour to talk about this. Catherine, if you don't mind hanging on through the break, we sure appreciate it. We have 3 other lines open, discussing all sorts of things with Charlie Brown, and we'd love to have your comments as well. We'll be right back after the top of the hour.
Scott, get in this. Oh, I got a pen, too. Just for
Welcome back, everybody. It's hour number 2 of Talk Back, brought to you in part this morning by Western States Cat, where they offer free local delivery from their stock of over 15,000 truck and equipment parts. Western States Cat, built for Montana. Also brought to you by Bull's Eyewear, with Missoula's only certified master optician on South Preserve in the old R.P. Ellis location, online at bullseyemt.com, and by Transport Equipment, your headquarters for RV service, maintenance, and repair, located on Inspiration Drive. Okay, we are back right in the middle of too bad you guys can't be here during the breaks. all the interesting things we talk about. But I promised right after the break that we would get Catherine on. She's been waiting all the way through the break. So let's be faithful to that. Catherine, you're on with Charlie Brown. Hi.
Oh, good morning. So, yeah, the reason that people like Trump is he's a street fighter. He was honed in the battlefields of New York real estate, as opposed to the rest of the milquetoast Republican slate who cringe and cower in the corner with their tail between their legs in hopes.
The gentility, yeah.
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
In hopes of maintaining their their connection to power and privilege, staying within the incestuous little bubble that exists out there. And this is an election between nationalism and globalism, collectivism and individualism, elites versus the rest of us, or another way of putting it is city versus country. And it's going on in the rest of the world also. There's a rising populism movement in England, France, Germany, etc. And as far as Hillary being a moral person, she hasn't shown anything but a desire to accumulate power since she was in the Watergate Commission and tried to deny Nixon any legal representation. So that's my comment.
Okay. Thanks for the call. So, Charlie, your reaction, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
Shock and dismay. No, I excuse me, that's what I typically hear from someone supporting Donald Trump.
Well, let me ask you this. I think it's undoubtedly true that he is a populist candidate. He's running on a populist streak.
No. He's not a populist candidate.
Look,
a populist candidate appeals to everyone, not to endorsements from the KKK and the neo-Nazis. Let's get populist right.
Well, let's look up the definition of populism. I'll do it while we talk to the next candidate.
Yeah,
and by the way, this is the campaign of populism in Donald Trump's way. He's doing it. He's saying, "I'm one of you. I'm just a normal person. I'm not a politician. I talk like you. I talk like you in the locker room." Now, frankly, I never talk like this guy, but that's the way he's trying to sell himself.
Not only that, he says he's spending his own money.
Yeah,
right. So the claim that he's not beholden to anyone except for himself, either that makes him, someone who has integrity, or he's an egomaniac.
So here's populism. It's not really who votes for you or supports you. It's about your tactics. Here it is. At its root, populism is a belief in the power of regular people and in their right to have control over their government, rather than a small group of political insiders or a wealthy elite. The word populism comes from the Latin word people populus.
Yeah, and note the word regular people, not people that have a bent.
So when you look at the people voting for Donald, a large amount of them are people that never graduated from college, or people that are working blue collar jobs,
factory workers.
These are regular people, Charlie.
There are some regular.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Let me put it this way: the base, we all know, and in fact, Charlie Sykes. If you want to watch something, listen to Charlie Sykes yesterday's program, because he talks about this. Both parties know they have a centrist group that they can count on for their votes.
Yeah.
Trump has reduced his. It normally is about 42% for Republicans. This election right now, it's 35, according to most of the pollsters. But they know that population will always be with them because the vast majority of people, for any one of a number of reasons, they believe that, the steel mills are shut down because of the Republicans or the Democrats, whatever. Their job went away because of whomever. Their father's job went away for whatever, And we do remember those things. I mean, I remember my father had the front page, and I think it was a Saturday Evening Post, at the height of the Depression at the Hoover Ranch, and it said, "No Americans need apply." So, people remember this stuff. I'm not saying that, it isn't burned into infamy in your heart, but there's just a standard population that will vote Democrat no matter what, and a standard population that vote Republican. You expect that.
It's like a family tradition.
Right. It's like a family tradition. It could be something they grew up with. It could be something that they were molded into. Hillary talks about the background of her father being a small businessman, and then when she went on through college, her views changed, and she realized she couldn't be a Republican any longer. But
she'd rather take money from small business than support it.
Not hardly.
All right.
Anyway,
we've got lots of calls. Let's get back to the phones and say good morning, Kevin. You've been waiting the longest. What's on your mind?
Oh, going back to the moral statement about Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
I find it fascinating that you would say a person of her she has morals when you consider she headed the bimbo squad, which was not a very nice thing to do with these women who had accused her husband of things.
I think the term that was coined was bimbo eruption.
Bimbo eruption. There you go.
Yeah.
Another thing, moral people don't lie continuously. They don't delete emails and try to work their way around the political system. Moral people don't blame a situation like Benghazi on a videotape, which we all know is an outright lie. Moral people don't look at the people square in the eyes, the victims of the people who died in Benghazi, and tell them we're going to get the guy with the video who is now living in a homeless camp. Moral people don't take money from Saudi Arabia. She's such a woman's rights advocate. I don't know what your standards for morals are, but I could go on, and I'm not saying Trump is any better, but that's not morality.
Okay.
I hear your case. I think it's a pretty good case.
We will let him answer that. Thanks for your call, Kevin. So go ahead, Charlie.
Well, first of all, I don't know where this immoral stuff comes from, but
Hillary.
But I do know why it's there, and the reason it's there is for the past 25 years, the Republicans have been castigating her for anything and everything that they can find.
So you don't think any of that's true?
No, I think
not a single word.
I think it's borderline true. It's like Benghazi when they had all this testimony and all this stuff, and she had been on the phone all night with generals and so forth. And then when they couldn't pin it on her, then at the end of the hearing, they just simply said the generals are responsible. Okay, but nobody gets to that part, okay? Hillary's responsible for what happened at Benghazi. That's absolutely asinine. And the generals being responsible is just as stupid. You have a war situation. You have an ambassador who I knew personally. Chris was a friend, and my sister actually rented his place when he was gone from D.C. And he's a wonderful guy, but the one thing I could never believe about him is he believed that no matter where he was, that there couldn't be guards, there couldn't be anything around that embassy because that discouraged people from talking to him. That was his attitude. Anybody with a modicum of research can find that out. That is a fact. What he did was reckless, to say the least.
Now,
and hold on a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
And as a result of that, he put a lot of people's lives in danger in addition to his.
Okay.
So,
now, the FBI did investigate Hillary. This isn't Republicans throwing crap at the wall, right? This is a real investigation. And she used the word you just said, reckless. She was found to be reckless. with her use of information.
Yeah, she was. She was.
And frankly, she's been reckless with her trust of the American people when it comes to telling the public that it was the result of a video when they knew, we know because of emails that she sent to Saudi Arabia and to her daughter, that they knew it wasn't because of a video, that she has a public face and a private face, just like she was asked during the debate last night or the other night.
Okay, the commercial sheriff has to jump in here. Sorry about that. I know it's mundane, but we got to play some commercials here. And Marilyn's also waiting. We have 3 other lines open. Interesting discussion. We'd love to have you be a part of it. That's what this show is all about. We'll be right back. And we are back on Talkback, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. Okay, Charlie Brown joining us here in studio and talking up Hillary, down Trump, and
all right,
John.
So Charlie believes that Hillary is a moral person.
I do.
And he said that at the beginning of the show. I have to ask you, Hillary recently admitted that the leaked script that WikiLeaks put out about her saying that you have to have a public position and a private position, she basically confirmed that that was a true part of her speech.
No,
she did. She said, I said that.
John, okay. She did. And she also explained why she said that.
Do you want me to play her explanation?
Yeah.
Let's play it. I got her explanation right here. Okay. This is Hillary explaining how she's like Abraham Lincoln.
No, not how she's... What Abraham Lincoln did as an illustration is what it's about.
Okay, now is this one with Hillary honest?
Yeah, is it with Lincoln? It's debate?
No. Hold on. I'm looking. Public and private position. Okay, here we go. We're going to play this right now, and then we're going to to our phone calls as soon as we can. Here we go.
As I recall, that was something I said about Abraham Lincoln after having seen the wonderful Steven Spielberg movie called Lincoln. It was a master class watching President Lincoln get the Congress to approve the 13th Amendment. It was principled and it was strategic. And I was making the point that it is hard sometimes to get the Congress to do what you want to do, and you have to keep working at it. And yes, President Lincoln was trying to convince some people. He used some arguments. Convincing other people, he used arguments. That was a great, I thought, a great display of presidential leadership. But, you know, let's talk about what's really going on here, Martha, because our intelligence community just came out and said in the last few days that the Kremlin, meaning Putin and the Russian government, are directing the attacks, the hacking on American accounts to influence our election. And WikiLeaks is part of that, as are other sites where the Russians hack information. We don't even know if it's accurate information, and then they put it out. We have never in the history of our country been in a situation where an adversary, a foreign power, is working so hard to influence the outcome of the election. And believe me, they're not doing it to get me elected. They're doing it to try to influence the election for Donald Trump. Now, maybe because he has praised Putin, maybe because he says he agrees with a lot of what Putin wants to do, maybe because he wants to do business in Moscow. I don't know the reasons. But we deserve answers. And we should demand that Donald release all of his tax returns so that people can see what are the entanglements and the financial relationships
we're going to get to that later.
That he has
Secretary
with
Clinton,
Russians and
you're out
other
of time.
foreign powers.
So a lot of people don't know what the question was about, this public and private position. This is what WikiLeaks posted from one of her speeches that she still has chosen not to release, that she gave to the big banks. She said, quote, "If everybody's watching, you know, all of the backroom discussions and deals, you know, then people get a little nervous, to say the least. So you need to have both a public and a private position," end quote. And she does go on to talk about Lincoln and his gubernatorial race and some of the deals he had to make in order to get to the position that he had.
That's true.
Do you think she's Lincolnian in the way that she's having a public and a private face?
Draconian? No.
Lincolnian.
Oh, Draconian. Oh, no.
Maybe a Freudian slip there.
I think we've seen it. A
little bit closer to the mic, please.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah.
We've seen this happen in a lot of different things. You know, for instance, when Johnson became president with the assassination of Kennedy, The same thing was true of his position. He'd always been a segregationist, and all of a sudden, Civil Rights Act is there. He knew this was John Kennedy's big piece of legislation. So he had a public persona and a private one. And I don't know if you saw the rendition, but I've read, I don't know how many books about the whole situation with that being passed. But his public position was he was still a segregationist. But his private position was, with all those people, you better damn well pass this or you'll never get reelected.
Okay,
and so what I'm trying to tell you is he tried to preserve his segregationist Texan population, but at the same time he was working to get the civil rights. So there is public and private persona.
So what does Hillary really believe?
Huh?
Does she like TPP or not?
Oh, I know she doesn't like TPP.
Even though she used to?
Yeah. No. What she said was...
What's the gold standard?
Yeah, it was going to... Well, hey...
That sounds like you would like it.
Hold on a minute. Yeah, no. A lot of people said that it could be the gold standard. That was what everybody was hoping for. But the amendments and everything that went through, no.
Okay,
and I argue with Obama, that's his baby, and I don't like it a bit.
We're up against a break. I promised Marilyn and Lana will get to give us out in just a moment. Please stand by, and we'll be right back.
No, TTP.
And we're back on Talk Back. This is a great conversation we're having. We want to get you involved, so let's get right to the phone. Marilyn's been waiting very patiently. Marilyn, what's on your mind? Go ahead.
Okay. The other night, Sunday night, I'm laying on my couch with my bad back, and I was so happy. I was cheering, screaming, yelling. Donald Trump finally got my vote when he went after Hillary Clinton the way she did and finally exposed a whole bunch of stuff that she's done her whole life. And, our Pravda media has never brought this stuff out. You know, they're not the investigative journalists that they used to be, should be, with politics, and they've been covering up for her. Okay, so the Communist Party USA, they have endorsed Hillary Clinton. I haven't heard liberals, anybody, the Pravda media saying that, when they keep, here Charlie Brown keeps saying, the Ku Klux Klan and all these others endorsed Donald Trump. Well, the Communist Party USA has endorsed Hillary Clinton, so surprise, surprise. When Donald Trump said that she should go to jail, when she said, good thing you aren't in charge of our law, he said, yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Okay.
And
do you have a question for Charlie?
Charlie. And I remember, Charlie, when I got involved in Republican politics back in the early 90s,